Here's a radio that does almost everything. Shortwave, VHF, UHF, voice, Morse, CW, digital modes, as a colour screen, maybe, a battery, and it fits in the hand. 25 years ago, this would have been 3 separate boxes, cables everywhere, computer drivers going bonkers. Completely different to what we have today. We call this category a shack in a box, and what you would have seen in the Rob Sherwood interview I did, we came up with 4 categories, 4 quadrants for radios, and this is the last one. The shack in the box category is quite an interesting part of the hobby with regard to rigs, not because they're specifically remarkable, although some are, but because it's how they reveal about how we choose rigs from a buying proposition. And in this video, if you are in this category, I will help you make a decision that's right for you. Because remember this, nobody needs a radio that does everything, which is precisely why it's worth asking why so many of us want one. So today, 5 of them, 2 fit in a rucksack, 2 have been around long enough to have opinions about them. In other words, there's loads of stuff about forums, da-da-da-da-da. And 1 brand new arrival has quietly done something rather clever. And we'll be fair to all of them. We'll be honest. Let's be fair. That's a different thing, because we've got no skin in the game, have we? None of us. No, we're not being sponsored by anybody. Let's start with the featherweights. The Icom IC-705. This is a radio that proved the category could be portable, properly good at the same time. And before it, you tended to choose fine receiver or something you could carry. Icom put the receiver from a base station into something that runs off a battery in your backpack. It's got a waterfall display from its bigger siblings. It's got built-in GPS, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi. It talks to your phone or laptop without a single extra interface box. For parks on the air, for summits on the air, it's close to ideal. The honest bit, it's got no internal antenna tuner, which puts the price generally odd. Consider the price expensive. Its cheaper cousin, the IC-7300, has one, and it tops out at 10 watts on external power, 5 on the battery that's built in across every band, and that is the whole point of it. And also a permanent ceiling. You will sooner or later want an amplifier, let's say another 500 quid, and then it isn't quite the same one in a box story anymore. Bearing in mind also, for that external amplifier, generally that only cover HF, then you need one for a UHF and one for VHF. See the problem? For total clarity, I own one, and I adore it, and I even use it for listening to the Archers on BBC Radio 4. The FTX-1 field. It's Yaesu's answer to the more ambitious design of the 2 when comparing it to the 705. The headline is it got 2 receivers, not 2 VFOs, 2 memories, 2 actual receivers. So you can listen to a higher frequency and a lower frequency at the same time. No portable radio in this class has done this before. So it's a modern SDR, software-defined radio. You've got USB-C charging. And it's got a battery that lasts for a long time on activation. And here's the clever part. You can add, this is the Optima, effectively. You can add a linear amplifier to this, built by Yaesu, that covers not just HF, but UHF and VHF. But it's a first-generation product. There are niggles that people report on it, mainly around the software. I'll probably come back to. I am a true believer in ham apps. I think ham radio apps are a phenomenal company there. SDR control, products for Yaesu, Icom, etc., etc. is amazing. And Yaesu do not believe that these rigs are in a market where people are concerned about going out in POTA and using digital modes. That is a niggle for me. The Optima, it's the same as the field, as you've seen, but with a 100-watt amplifier attached to the back, 50 watts on UHF and VHF. This is the only radio in existence that simultaneously does a 100-watt base station and a battery-powered QRP portable. You pull the amplifier off, clip the battery on, and walk up a hill. You clip the amplifier back on at home, and it's a full station with a built-in tuner, obviously with a PSU. On the bands, it gives you 100 watts of shortwave on up to 6 meters, 50 watts on 2 meters and 70 centimeters, exactly the same on VHF, UHF figures as the old Yaesu workhorse, the 991, as it happens. So the advantage here isn't raw power, it's architecture, it's the refusal to make you commit to QRP, or slightly more QRO. On its bit, still first generation software, most expensive radio here by a long chalk. 100 watts only happens when you're plugged into the mains or a big battery, as I mentioned, and on the internal cell, you're back to 6 watts, which is physics, not a flaw, but worth saying out loud. FT-991, 991A. For years, this was the default shack in the box. 100 watts on shortwave, 50 watts on both 2 meters and 70 sems. Strongest VHF UHF output in this group. Built-in tuner, spectrum scope, digital voice, all in one mature, well understood box. And the knowledge base around it is enormous. Whatever you're trying to do, someone's written it down, someone has implemented it, and someone will show you how to do it on YouTube. On its bit, they've discontinued it, still works beautifully. But if you're now buying a platform whose support is on countdown to a single receiver, you can't watch 2 meters while you work shortwave. It's spectrum scope sluggish by modern standards. It's the heaviest thing here. Buy it used price, it's a tremendous radio. Pay new stock money for a discounted design, and you've let nostalgia do your arithmetic. The veteran, 12 years old, the Icom IC-7100. And it's still, after 12 years, scoring really good reviews. Its trick really is physical. The control head detaches and sits on a slope where you can hide the radio body away, somewhere, shack, car, whatever. Really loved by people in RayNet air and emergency communications. Honest bits, no spectrum scope at all. Alone in this group, that's pretty glaring, but this is 2026 after all. How tech moves on. It gives you 50 watts on 2 meters, drops to 35 on 70. Obviously, that's down from the Yaesu. Touchscreen is, let's face it, mediocre. The architecture is from 2012. No successor. Though there are rumours. The elephant in the room is worth mentioning. IC-705, well, Icom must have seen something coming because they now realise how a lot of us, use FT8, for example, from a tablet on the kitchen table. We log on with a phone, we run the radio from the bottom of the garden over Wi-Fi, we go out portable, we use FT8. Icom got that. Yaesu should have seen that. Now, check out my interview with Marcus from Ham Radio Apps in a previous video. But the fact of the matter is, Yaesu, not even with their own protocols, enable you to use remotely. For example, when you're out doing a POTA FT8 with this radio. Yaesu's explanation was that nobody was asking for remote access on this radio because it's designed for outdoor use, which is a fascinating thing to say about a radio you'd most want to control from your phone precisely because you're sitting outside in the rain with it. But anyway, other than that, just a minor niggle. Okay, a short, slightly silly word about the numbers. You'll have seen I put these charts through here so you can freeze on them and have a look and zoom in or whatever, depending on the size of your screen. This one's a bit of a Specsavers special, sorry, but however, important stuff. I made the table, of course. I would always make a table. I put in 2 columns that you won't find any manufactured website. And that is, or rows, I should say. First is cost per watt. It's brutal. Cost per dBm is more relevant, I would say. And that gives you a good insight of what you're really paying. Bearing in mind that there are other factors I'll come on to. And I think dollars per dBm is really important. And if you're going portable, watts per kilogram is also important too. Right, which one? Well, I'm obviously not going to tell you which one. It's the problem you're trying to solve or problem you're trying to remove from your life. Problem's friction. If you want a grab and go radio, be on the air on a hilltop in 5 minutes, IC-705 is mature, sorted, brilliantly connected with ham radio apps, SDR control. Trust me, it's flipping awesome. I use resonant antennas, an ATU isn't a problem. If you're using external linear with an ATU on HF, it's not a problem. But there, I also have the Icom tuner. It's flipping expensive. It's very good, but it's more coin. And bear in mind, if you're not interested in UHF, VHF, there are far lower cost, just as effective solutions that are using the very latest technology. QMX Plus, Square SDR, Hermes Light, check them out. If you're intrigued about the future, 2 receivers and a radio that grows from a featherweight into a full station, FTX-1 field of the Optima. If you want 400 watts, slightly lower in UHF, VHF, just go in knowing it's young and the app cupboard is largely bare. If you want a modern 100 watt do everything radio, the Optima is right now almost the only one of its kind in current production. It's not hype, it's just the state of the market. If you want the rig for the least money, a used FT-991A or an IC-7100, the 7100, especially if you live mostly on FM voice and you forgive the missing waterfall, is an extraordinary amount of capable radio for the outlay. Just check my metrics. There is one thing I've been circling, say it's the true elephant in the room on this one. Rumour has it, at the forthcoming Tokyo show, we will be having an announcement from Icom, which will be, money is on, a very new version of the IC-7100. Expect something to compete against the FTX Optima and with other bits, because out of the big three, there's no doubt that Icom are ahead of the field on tech. So let's see what happens there. So if you think about buying a Shack in the Box at the moment, should that stop you buying one? Well, bear in mind, quite often new rigs that come on the market, sometimes even when they're announced, can take 6 months to go through the various approval. So if you can get hold of something to use in the meantime, with a friendly, it's sitting on my shelf, member of your radio club gathering dust, that may be an option. So that's it. Done the video slightly different to normal. All being well, that made total sense. And happy hunting for your next radio. 72, 73, 44.